What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's feeling good. Hope everybody's doing well. Guys, we're back with another update to this story. Or another part, whatever you want to call it. Listen, I prioritize updates and follow-ups. So when those come in, especially when they come in, like if I recently did the story in a week, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and I can remember, what story it was and things like that. It's I jump on it. Even if you send in a update something you did a year ago. We recently had that. Someone sent in an update, their point of view from a story that was like three and a half years old. Email 3.5 years, so I had to go back and find it. But anyway, so if you don't know this story is about a woman who cheated on her husband. Surprise, surprise. She treated him like crap, right? She cheated on him. He found out the kids weren't his, or maybe a couple of them weren't his, and it's been a big mess. She sent an update on how she went looking for him, and she's stalking him because he refuses to pay child support. And she's back with some more information, and this is just wild, guys. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna play it here first. I'm gonna play it first before I get to the update. But if you know exactly what I'm talking about, go down to the description, click the timestamp. It'll take you to, I'm gonna call it update 2. I'll call it update 2. I think in the email she split these up in parts. Like there's part 4 is the latest one. But I'm just gonna in the description call it update 2. Let's get into it. Looks like another one bites the dust. Ma'am, you made your bed. You have to lie in it. Subject: please don't share my email. Just call me H. Hi, I hope this message reaches you safely. I've been listening to your channel for a while now, and I wasn't going to write in, but something about today made me change my mind. Please don't share my email or identity. You can just call me H. That's what I'll go by for the purpose of this email. I actually found your channel on accident, even though it now feels like fate. It was a weird chain of events that led me to you, and I still don't know how I feel about sharing all of this. But I've kept it inside for so long, and I need to get it out. I need someone to hear me, even if the world ends up judging me. I deserve it, but I still want to speak. So, here's how it happened. I was talking to my boss, let's call him D. D is a gay man and honestly, one of the easiest people to talk to. He listens without making you feel like you're being judged, and he's always been like a safe space for me at work. After everything happened with my ex-husband, we'll call him M, I was feeling so low. D asked me how I was holding up, and I just let it all pour out. I told him everything, all of it. How I ruined my marriage, how I wish I could take it back, how I made the biggest mistake of my life. He listened, and then something really weird happened. As we were talking, he suddenly stopped and looked toward the back of my office. That's when another colleague of ours, someone I barely even speak to, walked out of the storage room like he had been hiding. I don't know what he was doing back there, but it was like he didn't want to be seen. He didn't say anything. He just nodded and left. D waited until the guy was gone and then told me to keep that whole situation to myself. He said, "There's already talk that I treat him special. Don't add fuel to the fire." I agreed, mostly because I didn't want to drag anyone else into my mess. But what's crazy is that colleague, after hearing everything I said, came back to me a couple hours later and told me I needed to check out this woman's YouTube channel. He said it helped his cousin win back her man after she messed up. I tried to find it, but I couldn't. Instead, I stumbled across your channel. At first, I just listened. I sat there with my headphones on at home, just letting the stories pour in. I cried. I judged. I nodded. I felt exposed, but I didn't write in. I told myself, you've done enough damage. You don't need to talk anymore. But today, after what D said to me, I'm ready to admit everything. He told me straight up, You need to own up to what you did. M is a good man. There was no reason for you to betray him like that. He's the father of your children, or at least he thought he was. You did more than just destroy his heart. And you know what? He was right. That's when I told him something I hadn't told anyone. I admitted that I knew at least the youngest child of the three wasn't M's. I could barely get the words out. I felt like the floor beneath me disappeared. Dee didn't say anything at first. He just sat there, eyes wide, then put his head down and said, go back to work. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Just like you'll pretend you didn't see anything in the office today, okay? I agreed. We had a silent pact. He kept my secret, and I kept his. But I couldn't focus. I left work early. I went home and just sat in the dark, asking myself how I got here, how I destroyed my own life. Let me go back. Let me tell you everything. Em and I met in 2016. I was the happiest woman alive. He made me laugh. He held doors open. He treated me like I mattered. We were both in our mid-20s and everything just clicked. After a year of dating, I got pregnant unexpectedly. We didn't plan it, but M was a man. He stepped up. We rushed to get married and built our little family from the ground up. For the first few years, it felt like a dream. We had 2 more kids together. At least that's what he thought. I knew deep down the truth was murkier. See, before I got pregnant with our 3rd child, Em and I had been arguing a lot. He worked long hours and paid all the bills, and because of that, he felt like he didn't have to help out at home. I was stuck with the dishes, laundry, school pickups, everything. I was exhausted. I felt like a maid, not a wife. Resentment started building. That resentment turned into bitterness. And that bitterness, it led me to cheat. I downloaded a dating app one night. I told myself I just wanted attention. I met a guy and we hooked up. Just sex, nothing else. No emotional connection. I never told him I was married. I never told him I was pregnant. I just pretended it was M's baby and we moved on with life. Ironically, cheating made me want my husband again. I was nicer to him. I felt guilty, so I stopped complaining when he came home and laid on the couch. In some twisted way, I thought I had fixed myself, but that didn't last. After a while, the resentment came back. I started looking for that high again, that escape, and that's when I crossed another line. I started sleeping with a coworker. This one was different. He made me feel sexy again, seen. I told myself it was harmless, that it wasn't love, just fun. We only saw each other during work hours or on the rare weekends when the kids were with my mom. One weekend, M decided to come home early from a trip. I didn't know. I was in our bed with him, my coworker, when M walked in. I'll never forget the look on his face. I'll never forget his voice shaking when he said, I had a gut feeling something was wrong. He didn't scream. He didn't yell. He just told both of us to get out. I was still getting dressed when I heard the front door open again. It was my mom. She was dropping off the kids. I was humiliated. I didn't even try to explain. I just left. Almost a month later, I was served divorce papers. I remember holding the envelope, shaking, like it was radioactive. I didn't want a divorce. I begged my lawyer to help me. I said, please, I don't care what it takes. I want to fix this. My lawyer was kind but firm. But she told me, if your husband wants to move forward, it's going to be hard to stop him. But we can slow it down. We can request counseling through the court. That gave me hope, but it didn't last, because at the first hearing, his lawyer pulled out test results. M wasn't the father, not of the youngest child, not even the second. I was stunned. I swore it had to be a mistake. I demanded another round of tests. The judge approved it, and again, same results. I still see M's face from that courtroom. I still hear the sound he made when the second set of results came back. It wasn't even crying. It was like something in him just broke. The judge looked at me and asked me point blank, do you know who the fathers are? I couldn't answer because I didn't know. I had guesses, but I couldn't be sure. I told the court I would take full responsibility for my kids. I said I didn't want child support. I just wanted this nightmare to be over. But that wasn't acceptable to anyone, not my lawyer, not the judge. They kept pushing. You have 3 children. These children deserve to know who their fathers are. They deserve support. I went through 3 hearings, 3 different courtroom scenes, 3 rounds of back and forth arguments. His lawyer said it was criminal that M had been lied to like this, that he was forced to pay for kids that weren't his. My lawyer tried to focus on the kids, saying they needed stability. It was a mess. Eventually, the judge ruled that M would be responsible for child support for all 3 kids until the biological fathers were identified. M was devastated. He begged the court not to do this to him, but the law was the law. The judge said, "You acted as their father since birth. You have a legal responsibility, even if you no longer have a biological one." After the final hearing, I tried to talk to M. He wouldn't look at me. He just said, "You didn't just break my heart. You took away my legacy." He got his divorce, but not the way he wanted, and I lost everything. My kids don't have a father. Not really. I had to explain to them that Daddy went away because he needs time to himself. What was I supposed to say? That I lied to him for years and now he's disappeared? I haven't received a dime in child support. Not a penny. I filed paperwork. I've tried to reach out to his family. Nothing. It's like he vanished, and I know they're helping him hide. His mother acts like nothing happened. No tears, no concern, just silence. So yeah, maybe I'm writing in because I want to confess. Or maybe I'm writing because I'm angry. Or maybe I just want someone to finally say, "Yeah, H, you messed up, but you're still human." I don't expect sympathy. I don't expect forgiveness. But I do want people to know the truth, that marriages don't fall apart in one day. They fall apart in 1,000 tiny moments. And sometimes you are the one doing the breaking. Thanks for reading. If you do decide to share this on your channel, please just call me H. Subject: Update from H. I think I found him. Dear Mr. Epic, it's me again. H, first I want to say again, please do not expose my real name or my email address. I'm fully aware how messy my story is, and I know it probably will trigger a lot of people. I expect the backlash. Even if I don't read any comments, I'll purposely avoid watching the video if it was shared. I told myself I wasn't going to send another email, but here I am. So much has happened since I last wrote in. Some days I feel like I'm hanging by a thread, just existing for the sake of my children. Other days I feel this strange determination to fix everything I broke, even if deep down I know some things can't be fixed. I think I found him, M, or at least I think I know where he is. And it's only because I hired a private investigator. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Stalkerish, desperate, maybe even pathetic. But when you have 3 children crying for a man who vanished after a courtroom broke his spirit, when your oldest looks you in the eyes and says, "I hate you," you made Daddy leave. You start doing things you never thought you would. You start clawing at any lead, any clue, any thread of hope, because the guilt eats you alive if you sit still too long. Let me back up a bit. After the judge declared that M was legally responsible for the kids, despite the paternity results, he vanished. He ghosted everyone. No payments, no visits. I'd call, text, email, nothing. Even his social media accounts were wiped clean or made private. I used to scroll through his old Facebook posts just to feel close to him, to remind myself that once upon a time he loved me. But eventually, even those disappeared. At first, I thought maybe he had a breakdown. Maybe he was living out of his car somewhere or couch surfing with friends. His mother, who used to adore me, wouldn't even open the door when I came by. She literally turned off the porch light one evening while I stood there holding the baby. Cold. She wouldn't even look me in the eye. And that's when I knew something was off. Because no matter how hurt she wouldn't act like that unless she was hiding something. So, I talked to a lawyer about filing a failure to pay child support claim. That's when I learned that you can't really enforce child support if you can't even locate the person legally. The court needs to know where he is to serve him. No one had a clue, not even his employer. The place he worked for nearly 8 years claimed they hadn't seen him since the divorce. He'd quit and left without any notice. My stomach turned every time the kids asked, "Where's Daddy?" I'd smile through gritted teeth and say, "He's on a work trip," or "He's just taking a break," or "He's thinking about stuff right now." And the baby, who's 3 now, would just blink and ask, "Why he not thinking with us?" I don't think it hit me how badly this was affecting them until last Christmas. My oldest, he's 8, wrote in his letter to Santa, "Please bring my daddy back. I don't want toys. I just want my dad to come home." I read that letter at 2 a.m. while wrapping gifts, and I had to lock myself in the bathroom and cry into a towel so they wouldn't hear me. My middle child started having accidents at night again. She's 6. She used to be so proud of herself for staying dry. Now she hides her sheets and cries when I ask her why. She told me once, "It's 'cause Daddy's gone and you made him sad." That sentence shattered me. Then there's my oldest. He stopped talking to me some days. He'll just stare. And when I try to hug him, he stiffens up like I'm some stranger. One night he shouted, "Why did you hurt Daddy? Why did you make him leave?" and slammed his bedroom door so hard the doorknob cracked. That was the first time I truly saw what I'd done through their eyes. Not just M's heartbreak, but the damage that poured over into 3 little hearts who didn't ask for any of this. So I broke. I opened a new credit card, maxed it out, and hired a private investigator. It took weeks. I didn't even have solid leads, just vague memories of people he used to talk about, hobbies he liked, and a few places I knew he always dreamed of moving to. The investigator, I'll call him Greg, was surprisingly kind. He didn't judge me. He just listened, took notes, asked smart questions. Sometimes I'd overshare. Other times I'd break down mid-sentence. And one time I accidentally let it slip that I never even told M about the real paternity of the kids until court forced my hand. Greg didn't say anything, but his silence said a lot. Last week, Greg called me. He said, "I might have found him." I froze, couldn't breathe. I was in the middle of making dinner, chicken Alfredo. I remember because I burned the sauce while standing there like a statue with the phone pressed to my ear. Greg told me that M may be living under an alias in a small town about 3 hours away. He found a man working at a mechanic shop with the same build, same eyes, and even the same tattoo on his forearm, the one he got after our first son was born. The name tag read Marcus, which wasn't M's name, but everything else matched. Greg said the guy never shares personal info, never talks about family, and goes home straight after work every day. I didn't know what to say. My mouth went dry. I just whispered, "That's him. It has to be." But I didn't go rushing down there. As much as I wanted to, I didn't. I spent 3 whole nights lying awake just staring at the ceiling, wondering what I would even say if I saw him again. What right do I have? After everything I did, the lies, the betrayal, the humiliation, I wouldn't even know how to look him in the eye. And yet, I need him to know the kids are hurting. I need him to know that I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just begging for presence, for closure, for honesty, something. I tried writing a letter, then ripped it up. I tried rehearsing what I'd say. Nothing sounded right. I told my boss about the investigator. D, remember? He just sighed and said, "I figured you'd try this route eventually." Then he said something that stuck with me. Just be prepared for him to never forgive you. You can't expect healing on your terms. That hit me hard because deep down, I think I've been waiting for him to come back and forgive me, to walk through the door and say, I miss us. But the truth is, that might never happen. He may have erased me completely, and if he has, I deserve it. But the kids don't. The kids never lied. The kids never cheated. The kids never hurt anyone. They just want their dad. I've been thinking about driving down there, maybe not to approach him right away, but just to see for myself. I want confirmation, closure, something to anchor all this uncertainty. But life won't stop throwing punches. My job has been on shaky ground. I had to cut my hours because the school called me twice in 1 week about my oldest fighting with other kids. They say he's angry, withdrawn. He doesn't listen. And he writes stories in class about a superdad who disappeared and left a map for his son to find him. That one made me cry for a whole day. My 6-year-old has been drawing family pictures with everyone smiling except me. She draws me in a corner, frowning, alone. Sometimes I'm not even in the picture at all. And the baby, she just runs up to strangers at the store and says, "Are you my daddy?" That one breaks me the most. I wish I could take it all back, every lie, every moment of selfishness, every time I convinced myself I was justified in cheating because I felt neglected. I'd go back in a heartbeat and just talk to him, beg him to help me fix what was broken before I broke it even more. But that's not how life works. Now I'm sitting here with Greg's report in my hand, shaking with fear. Fear that it is him, and fear that it isn't. Fear that if I do show up, he'll call the cops. Or worse, he'll look me dead in the eyes and say, "You're dead to me." But I think I'm gonna go. Not for me, for the kids. I won't bring them. I won't ambush him. I just want to see, to know, to breathe the same air for a moment and maybe whisper through the wind, "We're still here. We haven't forgotten you." I don't know what I'm expecting, but I know I can't stay still anymore. Thank you for reading this, for giving people like me a space to confess, to vent, to grieve. I don't deserve kindness, but somehow putting this into words helps me survive the shame. Please keep me anonymous. Just H. Forever ashamed, but still holding on to hope. H.
It is what it is. You did that man wrong. You did that man completely wrong. He didn't deserve that. And 2 of the kids aren't his? Just disgusting. And you knew about 1 not being his. And you lied. You lied. This man disappeared because he's like, I'm not taking care of any of them. They're not mine. I don't want nothing to do with any of them. Now your oldest is ticked off at you. Oh, guys, is it worth it, man?
Subject, Part 3. I drove to see him and found his new girlfriend. Dear sir, thank you. Thank you for reading my story. When I saw that video and heard you mention the email from H, I cried. I don't know if I cried because someone finally listened or because I realized how far gone things are. Maybe both. It meant more than you know. I don't have many people to talk to. Telling this story felt like bleeding out, but when I heard you say my words, I felt a weird sense of peace, like maybe this was all leading somewhere, so thank you. Now I have to tell you what happened after I sent that last email. This will be long. I hope you don't mind. After I hired the private investigator, it only took about 2 weeks before he gave me an address. It wasn't a fancy one, just an apartment complex about 2 hours away from where we used to live. The moment I got the location, I froze. For days. I stared at that little pin on my phone screen like it was a loaded gun. I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd even say to him if I saw him. Would I beg again? Would I scream? Would I cry? Would he slam the door in my face? Or worse, Would he smile like I was a stranger? During those days of hesitation, life at home kept crumbling. The kids have been asking more and more about their dad. My youngest still thinks he's at work. My middle child cried last week when she saw an old picture of him holding her at the park. But it's my oldest Jay who's really starting to change. He's 9 now, and he remembers everything. He remembers how his dad used to tuck him in, how they used to race home from school, how they'd build Lego cities together and make up stories. He remembers how his dad stopped coming around, and now he's starting to blame me. Last week, I found him sulking in the bathroom with the door locked. I asked him what was wrong, and he said, "You made him leave, didn't you?" I couldn't even speak. I just knelt down and told him it was more complicated than that. But how do you explain betrayal to a child? How do you tell your son that you destroyed your marriage and in the process, his world? I didn't sleep that night. That's when I made the decision. I packed the kids into the car that weekend and told them we were going on a little road trip. I dropped them off at my aunt's house in the next town and told her I'd be back in a few hours. She didn't ask questions. She knows I've been off lately. I think she suspects what I was doing, but she didn't pry. Then I made the 2-hour drive to the address the PI gave me. Every minute felt like a punch in the chest. I kept picturing the look on M's face when he saw me. I tried to imagine every outcome. Maybe he'd let me talk. Maybe he'd yell. Maybe he'd call the police. Maybe he wouldn't be there at all. But nothing could have prepared me for what really happened. I pulled into the complex around 3 p.m. It was a quiet place, clean but older. 2 floors with faded green paint and little balconies. I didn't see his car at first, so I waited. About 30 minutes later, I saw him. He walked out wearing a hoodie and jeans, and I almost didn't recognize him. He looked different, like someone who'd aged and hardened. His beard was fuller, his face leaner. He didn't look sad anymore. He looked numb. He had a woman with him. She was pretty, tall, brown skin, curly hair. She laughed at something he said and hit his arm playfully. And then she kissed his cheek. I swear my heart stopped. I didn't expect to feel that way. It wasn't just jealousy. It was loss. Deep, permanent loss. That woman was laughing with the man who used to be mine. The man I married. The man I had children with. The man I betrayed. They got into his car and drove off. I followed. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe it was, but something in me needed to know where he was going. I didn't even have a plan. I just followed like my body was on autopilot. They ended up at a Walmart, just your regular big one, parking lot half full, kids screaming somewhere, carts banging together. I sat there for 10 minutes before deciding to go in. I don't know what got into me. Maybe it was all the months of silence. Maybe it was my son's voice asking if I made his dad leave. Maybe it was the fact that this woman had what I gave up and threw away. But I walked into that Walmart like I had something to prove. I found them in the produce section. He was picking out apples. She was holding a basket. They looked happy, normal. And then he looked up and saw me. For a second, he froze. I could tell he wasn't sure if I was real. I just stood there, tears already forming, hands shaking. "M," I said. My voice cracked. He blinked, then looked down and back up again. "What are you doing here?" I didn't know how to answer. I just said, "I needed to see you." The girlfriend looked confused. She stepped back a bit and said, "Is everything okay?" He turned to her and said, "Can you give us a second?" She didn't argue. She walked a few aisles over. That's when I lost it. "I hired a private investigator," I blurted. "I had to know where you were. The kids, they ask about you every day. Jay is starting to hate me." His face hardened. "You brought them into this?" "I didn't mean to. I didn't know what else to do. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed to see you. Just once. I've been going crazy." He shook his head slowly. "You've seen me. Now what?" I felt like I was going to collapse. Do you love her? He didn't answer right away, just looked at me, then looked toward the aisle where she'd disappeared. Yeah, he finally said. That broke me. I felt my knees go weak. Do you ever think about us? He sighed. Every day. And every day I remember the look on your face when you were in our bed with another man. That image doesn't go away. I was crying now, not sobbing, just silent, slow tears. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Em. I never stopped loving you. He looked down. You should have thought about that before you made me raise children that weren't mine. I know, I whispered. I know. We stood there in silence for a while. Then he said something that still echoes in my head. I loved you more than I loved myself. That's how I know I'll never let you back in, because I don't ever want to feel that kind of pain again. I didn't fight him. I didn't beg. I just nodded. Then he turned and walked away, back to her. I sat in my car for almost an hour before driving back to my aunt's. I told the kids nothing, just said I had to take care of something. I haven't told anyone else either. You're the first person I'm telling. Since that day, I've been numb. I go to work. I cook dinner. I bathe the kids. I tuck them in, but I feel like a ghost. Like I died the day he walked away from me in that Walmart. But maybe I deserve that. Still, part of me is proud I went. At least now I know. At least now I don't have to wonder. He's alive. He's moved on. He has someone who didn't lie to him. And even though it hurts like hell, it gave me some kind of closure. I don't know if you'll read this one too, but if you do, thank you again. Thank you for making space for people like me, even when we're the villains in our own stories. H. Part 4. My custody battle, an emotional reckoning. Hey, first off, thank you again for reading my previous emails. I didn't expect my story to resonate or even be acknowledged, and yet you gave my voice a platform. That meant more to me than you know. After everything I've done and everything I've lost, it felt like, for once, someone was actually listening, even if it's just through a screen. I didn't feel as alone anymore. I know I've made mistakes that are hard to come back from, but I'm still trying, still holding on to the pieces I have left. But today, I'm writing with a heart that's heavier than it's ever been. My oldest son found his father, and now it looks like Em is coming back to take custody. It all started a couple weeks ago. My oldest, he's 13 now, has been distant. I didn't think much of it at first. Teens, right? But I started noticing little things. Him keeping secrets, hiding his phone when I walked into a room, being cold one moment, then overly nice the next. Then one night, I overheard him on the phone, whispering, "I miss you too, Dad." My heart dropped. I didn't confront him right away. I waited until the next day, trying to piece my thoughts together. That morning, while making breakfast, I casually asked who he had been talking to lately. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "I know where Dad is. I found him on Instagram." He answered me. I froze. I couldn't breathe for a second. I asked him, "When did you do this?" He shrugged. "A couple months ago." He didn't answer at first, but he finally did. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" And his answer cut deeper than anything I've felt, "Because you would have ruined it." It broke me, my own child, already blaming me, already pushing me away. I wanted to cry right there, but I held it in. I asked where his dad was, and he just said, "Somewhere better, with someone who actually makes him happy." A few days later, I got a letter in the mail, certified, custody petition. M had filed for full custody of our oldest, just the oldest, for now. I called the number on the paperwork, and they directed me to his lawyer. I didn't know what to do. I felt cornered. I made a dozen calls and finally found someone who could see me that week. My lawyer's name is Kendra. She's sharp, no nonsense, but not unkind. She let me talk, let me explain everything. Maybe too much. She just nodded through most of it, taking notes. Here's the reality, she told me once I finally stopped rambling. Your ex-husband has a good shot, especially if he can show the kids aren't biologically his, and you withheld that. Courts don't like secrets, and they really don't like deception. I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I didn't mean to lie, I told her. I didn't know for sure, and I didn't want to break my family apart. She gave me this look, like half sympathy, half I've heard this before. Intentions don't always matter in court, she said. What we need to do is focus on strategy. Here's what we're going to do. Then she laid out the steps. Document everything. She told me to start writing down daily life routines, how involved I am with the kids, how often I take them to school, to the doctor, what they eat, how they sleep. Paint the picture of a stable home. Therapist evaluation. She said I needed to get into therapy immediately, not just for me, but for my kids, especially the oldest. Courts take that seriously. It shows I'm being proactive, not reactive. School and medical records. She said we need to pull academic performance and medical history to show that the children are stable and healthy under my care. Witnesses. She asked me if anyone can vouch for me as a mother. Teachers, doctors, neighbors, anyone. She said character witnesses could make a huge difference. Guardianship hearing. Prep. She said to prepare for mediation first, but that M's lawyer had already requested an expedited hearing. That means he's coming in strong, and I needed to be ready. DNA and paternity. This was the hard part. Even though it's already been ruled, she said M's lawyer is pushing for a full legal disestablishment of paternity for all three kids, which could clear him of financial responsibility. But ironically, he's using it to fight for custody of the oldest, who isn't his biologically, but who he bonded with. His angle is that you lied, yes, she said, but he was the only father figure your son ever knew, and that child is reaching out to him. Courts may sympathize with that. I left the meeting feeling like the ground was gone beneath me. I drove around for hours. I didn't want to go home, didn't want the kids to see me like that. I parked in front of a closed CVS and just cried in the car until the sun went down. That same night, I Googled therapists and found a place 10 minutes away. I called the next morning. They had a spot open the following Tuesday. I met with a woman named Carla. She was soft-spoken, gentle. I didn't hold back. I told her everything. From the cheating to the court case, from the pain of my son finding M behind my back to the guilt I carry every time I look into my kid's eyes. And here's the part I haven't told anyone, not even Carla yet. I want him back, not just for the kids, for me. As much as I've hated myself, as much as I've tried to convince myself to move on, I can't. I want M back. I want my family back. If he walked through my door and asked to try again, I'd fall into his arms in a heartbeat. But I know it's not that simple. I broke something that might never be fixed. And now he has someone new. Someone who probably makes him feel seen and respected and appreciated. All the things I failed to give him. Carla gave me some tools to cope, deep breathing, journaling, grounding exercises, but she also told me that I need to grieve the version of my life I thought I'd have. You're mourning a fantasy, she said. That doesn't mean it wasn't real to you, but you have to accept that you can't rewrite the past. I nodded, but my heart screamed, I don't want to accept it. Every day, my son talks more and more about his dad. He wants to live with him. He says he feels safer, more understood. He told me the other day, at least dad doesn't yell about the dishes. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I feel like I'm failing more now than I did when I was cheating. At least then, I could pretend I was keeping my family together. Now I'm just watching it unravel thread by thread. I talked to my boss, D, about it again. He hugged me, told me I'm strong, told me I've survived worse. But when I asked him, "Do you think M would ever take me back?" he looked at me for a long time and said, "I think you already know the answer to that." The hardest part? I don't. I really don't. I've written apology letters. I've drafted messages I never sent. I even tried to reach out to his new girlfriend once, just to talk, just to beg her not to hate me. I deleted it all. I knew how pathetic it would sound. Now the court date is set. 2 weeks from today. My lawyer says we need to prepare for the worst, that if the judge sees the child's bond with M as more valuable than my full-time care, I could lose custody. I keep thinking, what if that happens? What if I lose him? What if this is the final punishment for everything I've done? I'd accept it if it meant my son would be happy, but it would kill me inside. And here's the irony. I used to think I was the one who didn't feel seen, but maybe it was M all along. Maybe he gave everything, and I threw it away like it wasn't enough. And now I finally see the cost. You asked us to be real, so here I am, raw and open and terrified. If anyone out there is reading this, if anyone thinks their relationship is falling apart because he doesn't help enough, or he's too quiet, or he's not exciting anymore, please, I beg you, talk to him. Love him harder. Don't seek validation in someone else's arms, because once you lose what matters, no amount of flings or fun will make the loneliness go away. I'll write again after the court date, unless I fall apart before then. Sincerely, H.